What if the property that you like or have found and love is tenant occupied? What can you do? And as a seller, what can you do? As a buyer, what can you do? I'm going to give you 3 things you can do. This all depends on the laws in your area. Of course, I always just do this for Santa Cruz County. So you may find that wherever you're watching this from, they have different rules there. But I'm going to give you 3 instances about buying a property when there's a tenant there. And for some reason, this video has really been on the back of my mind because I think we're going to see a little bit more of it this year. Also, I think some sellers are sitting on the fence of selling because, they have a good tenant, they're getting good rent, but they actually really do want to buy or move that investment somewhere else or maybe closer to them, because we have a lot of rentals in our area that are rented out by owners who don't live in the area. So they tend to look where they are or maybe where they're traveling to of where they would like their investments. We see that a lot. Hi, I'm Michelle with Compass Real Estate. And I have seen over the years many tenant occupied properties. I've actually sold a few. A lot, actually. And it's always tricky. I think I'm really good with tenants. I kind of walk that line of, yes, you have rights, but the seller has rights too. The owner has rights too. And it's really important that we pay attention to everybody. It's just kind of walking that fine line to make sure that they're taken care of. No unannounced visits, no visits that don't have 24 hours notice. Any inconveniences that they're warned about. Now, of course, people will show up, and realtors are like herding cats. You tell them not to bother the tenants. What do? One of them is going to probably bother the tenants. But anyway, I don't need to get into that today. Okay, so the first thing is you find a property, you like it, or you're an owner and you're like, hey, I want to sell this property and it's got a tenant in there and I don't want them to go because I need that income, but I want to sell it. What do I do? Well, you can put it on the market. You have to give the tenant notice. And in that notice that you're saying, I'm selling it, you would say they have to have 24 hours notice for an appointment. I personally don't know if this is written anywhere, but I always ask the tenant's permission to take pictures. Now, they can't say no, really, but I think you should. So kind of give them the expectations. We're putting it on the market. This is what's going to happen. This is what they have to do. Then you say, we'll see what happens. Unfortunately, if it sells, I can't guarantee how it's all going to go. So you kind of have to leave that kind of big if out there if you're a seller. If you're a buyer, you have 3 things you can do. Now, sellers, you can listen to this part too. So number 1 is you can take the property with the tenant in it. You can just say, I'll take them. I need a rental. I'm doing a 1031 exchange where I'm moving my investment here and I need it to be rented for, the 2 years. So let's just go ahead and keep that tenant. You like them. I like them. I've met them. Everything's great. I've seen their lease and I know they have a good deposit. So we're good. Keep that tenant. Number 2, you could say, buyer and seller, both of you, I need a long escrow. I need to give them 60 days notice. They've been in the property for over a year. And to ask them to move because the rental property is going to be taken off the rental roll and now there's going to be somebody who's going to live there. We have to give them 60 days notice. And we'll just have a long escrow to cover that 60 days. And I've done lots of those. Those typically work out really well. And the tenant usually finds a property. It's kind of interesting. At about the 45-day mark, 40 to 45-day marks. I think the first 30 days is because they're just, they're not sure it's really happening or something. I'm not really sure. They just kind of have to get their head wrapped around that they're going to have to move. And then they're just like fired up. And usually they're out before the 60 days and we close and everything's great. I haven't had any problems. I'm knocking on wood here. But that one actually is kind of the good one. So maybe a little star next to that one. Ding. And then number 3 is, I'm sure everybody won't like this, probably buyers, but the other thing you can do is say, hey, seller, I don't want the tenant. And I really don't want to wait the 60 days. I want to move in now. Or even with the 60 days, I'm nervous. I don't like that process. I'm going to give you an extra $5,000 to give to the tenant to incentivize them to move. And they move out on your watch when you're the owner. And if they have any problems, you're basically on the hook. I've done that a few times. That also works really well. Money incentives usually work. They work sometimes if you buyer, you have a owner who says, well, I want to stay in here for another 3 or 4 months and give me a long escrow, buy it now. I'll give it to you now. And I'm going to stay here for a while. So, owners kind of can get incentivized too. So you say, hey, you know what? I'll give you a little extra if you move out sooner. That works too. So number 1, take the tenant. Number 2, do a long escrow, wait for that that tenant to move, and everybody gets their ducks in a row. And even if the seller or owner is doing a 1031 exchange, that also gives them time to identify where they're going to move that investment capital gains off their books and move it. And then number 3 is money. Money tends to work a lot. And I will bounce back to what you will have heard in many of my videos. It's time or money. It's always time or money. I think that's a business principle, but it works really good in real estate. So if you have any questions, of course, please reach out to me. I can help you with any of these ideas. Check my socials, like, subscribe, share, comment, and yeah, I'll see you next week.